My heart skipped a beat.
Is it recording? How exciting. Living in Las Vegas starts now. We'll see. Hard to say. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome from Las Vegas, Nevada. That groovy little podcast that gives you a true first-person look into what it's like to call Sin City your home. The Living in Las Vegas podcast. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And now your host. Yes? A man who clearly needs some kind of introduction, otherwise you wouldn't know who he was. Mr. Scott Whitney. Welcome, everybody, to the Living in Las Vegas podcast here on the Vegas Video Network. Oh, lovely crowd. We're pouring our own drinks today. We had to let the staff go.
Yeah.
Cheers, everybody. By the way, cheers to you. Mm-hmm. Let me congratulate you because you're watching or listening to the longest running podcast about Las Vegas that actually originates from Vegas and is hosted by a couple locals.
Oh, my goodness.
What? I've never heard of such a crazy thing. What does that mean? Well, several things. A, we're not going to just talk about what it's like to live here. No. We're going to talk about adventures on the Strip, downtown, Fremont Street, other cool places here in the Valley. And by the way, if you're a fan of our fair city, maybe you're a tourist, or God bless you, you're thinking about moving here.
There's a lot of those.
What? Mm-hmm. $5,000 a month used to be. Well, then this show is like your own secret handshake to all things cool and groovy. Now, we broadcast this show live the first and third Tuesday of every month at 7 o'clock Pacific Time p.m. at VegasVideoNetwork.com/live. Again, that's VegasVideoNetwork.com/live. In the words of Christina Aguilera, come on over, baby. Why? Because we do this show, it's about an hour. As a matter of fact, the over and under for the last 3 shows have been
an hour.
An hour. That's kind of what we're shooting for. But you may say to yourself, is there more than just an hour of stuff going on?
Oh.
Is there?
Is there?
Is there?
I don't know, is there?
Well, for example, yeah, well, there is. We do a pre-show. You can watch us set up for this craziness. That's like watching the magic happen. You get to see the magician put the rabbit in the hat before he takes it out of the hat. That's what happens here. By the way, one of our magicians, Nick back there, is drinking. He's basically got an IV of vodka going straight into his arm right now because he's doing a very good job, though. So far, I think he's done a fantastic job. So you have the pre-show, which is pretty fantastic, but then you get the post-show. This is VVN 2.0. This is VVN After Dark, right? There's
the gloves come off, along with other things.
And watch this. The fingers come off. Got camera 2 real quick. Watch this. Back to 1. Okay. That's the magic for you. Okay? I'll teach you how to do that in VVN After Dark.
Ooh.
Perfect. Like this.
Bated breath is what I have right now.
And so we'll talk about a few things that we may not have decided was appropriate for the main show. And also, you get to meet some of the coolest people ever. Who? People who are in our live chat. Now, these people are from all over the world, said Camera 4. They are, those crazy little bastards. We've got people from basically every country, every state, every place in the world. You can see them now. I see Teddy and Jake and Pops and Don and Maui Dave and Jimmy and look at that. They can see themselves as well, which is kind of magical. They are an integral part of the show, which makes me proud to be in America. Now, I am your host, Scott Whitney. Konnichiwa. Buenas noches. How you doing, hot stuff? I am the founder of the Vegas Video Network, so on behalf of all the shows here, thank you very much. On behalf of this groovy little podcast, I want to thank you as well. But I'm not doing this show alone. I've got a couple people. First, I've got technical directing Nick. You can't see Nick because he's a spy. But I've also got the great and powerful Wayne Crowell. Everybody, there he is.
Thank you. Oh, there can't. Please, you're too kind. All right, keep it. All right, okay, good. Yes.
Wayne, over and under?
Hey, how about 60 minutes?
Let's go 60. Hey, new in the live chat, we've got Lion 13. Now, there's a debate on whether or not Lion 13 is new in the live chat. We think he is. He's a quiet little fella, not saying much. We asked him about who he was and his background. And once again, we have the capability of checking that stuff out surreptitiously, which is not the actual word, but it's close. Tell us a little bit about.
Surreptitiously, yes.
That's the word I meant.
Well, there's a reason he's very quiet, and that's because he's an integral part of the Underground Railroad, the smuggling.
Where are you going with this?
The smuggling of maple syrup across the Canadian border.
What?
Down from Windsor, which Steve Perry would call South Detroit, into Detroit.
Look at you.
So.
And how long has he been watching the show? Oh, he's on! Camera 4, please.
Well, that maple syrup is
I
thick.
actually live on the westernest part of Lake Superior, Wisconsin.
It's still Canada.
Right, ish. Might as well be.
Right.
Probably going to be leaving soon, given our current presidential state. He likes young boys. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I read that wrong. Long walks on the beach.
Could you get off of Nick's dating profile, please? That was a previous show.
That was great.
And you need to refresh your browser window.
I'm Nikki 123 Vegas. I like young boys and cold toilet seats. What an odd man he is. Anyways, so Lion 13 has been watching us for how long?
Well, these days, I mean, he's fairly recent. The maple syrup, you got to get ready and start tapping it in the fall.
Yes.
For that to bring across the border.
That's a great. Tap that maple, baby.
Yeah,
Yo, what's that mean?
So.
No, we're not talking about that.
So he's getting ready, getting the supplies and the boats, the speed boats and such to get across Lake Superior.
Okay, fantastic.
With that sweet maple syrup.
Well, welcome the sweet maple syrup. Welcome, Lion 13. We are glad to have you here. I knew it was there.
So, Scott.
Wayne?
The craziest thing happened.
Scared the hell out of me.
I know. Well,
like the music?
The music was fading out, so I had to say something.
Okay, good.
So, crazy thing. So, last week, sometime earlier in the week, I am reading the Las Vegas Review-Journal, as all good Las Vegas Raiders fans do these days. And
I'm a little surprised, given the fact that the owner separated from that.
Still a rising tide raises all boats.
So, boy. God bless you.
As I'm flipping through, digitally, of course, and this is how I flip through my iPhone.
Well, you got one of those fancy ones.
I do. You turn it,
a Kindle?
So as I'm reading through it, I came across quite the little article. It was about a business person in our fair town who's got quite a run of it and is being very successful. And it's somebody that you and I both know, believe it or
Really?
not.
I wonder if we have a graphic of that. Hard to say. How about that? Here it comes. So
Look at that.
We're going to do it again. Start from about halfway through it.
So as I'm flipping through, there was an article about a successful business person in town who you and I both know, and guess who it was?
It was about me.
It was you.
Oh.
So how did this come about?
Crazy town, right? So here's what happened. Do you remember? I know you remember Al Mancini.
Yep, Vegas Video Network alum, top of the food chain.
Right.
We've got Big Sporks,
Big Sporks, or Big Spoons.
Yeah.
Yeah, Big Sporks. Oh, now you got me doing it. Big Forks and Big Spoons. So he used to be a host of Top of the Food Chain. He's the guy with the bald side, big mohawk. Really good writer. And he started off as smaller papers here. I think it was Las Vegas Weekly or Seven, one of those two magazines. And now he's a reporter for the Review Journal. And he reached out one day and said, "Hey, I do this thing called Vegas Voices that highlights people." He said something very nice about the people. I'm like, well, okay. I said, "Why are you calling me? Do we leave on okay terms? I forgot." I want to talk to you. I'm like, that's fantastic. So he came in, and we did. It was about an hour and a half interview, And you know, there's some reminiscing. You know, I've known Al for a while, and we go back and have said, you know, good things about each other and all that good stuff. But he's a talky guy, and I'm a talky guy, and he's like, now I'm just going to go ahead and just record everything. I'm like, okay, pal, good luck, because I can get going. And so we, for an hour and a half, probably total, we did one interview, and then we came in and we did a photo shoot.
Oh, there were photos.
There were photos.
Do we have those photos, Nick? I named these photos.
Oh, well, okay. Now we're going to have to stop and listen to you giving me shit for this. Let's go.
No, go back.
Go back to the first one.
Whoa. So this photo.
I'll give you the background on the photos too, because that's funny.
So this photo, I call shadows, and the reason for that. Here's what's interesting about this. Two things I like about this photo.
Shadows.
Number one, when you're trying to present the image that you have a successful company that you can keep the lights on, and in the photo, all the lights aren't on.
Right. Which one's off?
The second one from
That's
the
right.
top.
Now, here's what's so funny about that photo. So I didn't notice that when we were. So here's what happens. He's such a dick, but it's funny. Okay, so. Yeah, thank you. By the way, a new thing, and that is you can hear Nick talking. Big applause for Nick deciding that he needed to be part of the show. Say hi, Nick. Okay, so back to that graphic, please. So we have two of those lights in the Groovy Lounge, and one of those lights burned out. And I'm like, I am too busy to go out and buy another light. So I just unscrewed the other light of the same, so they both had one missing. I'm like, oh, that's very artistic. And when you walk into the Groovy Lounge and you see both lights, you think, oh, he's probably doing that to lower the ambient light. It's a thing, which is exactly what it looks like until you look at that shot. And then it looks like that poor fucker doesn't have a light. So, yeah. That, by the way, that shot, that's a really uncomfortable shot to do. I kept asking him, so what do I do? You don't want to slump back because then you look like a fat fuck, which I already look like. Can I put my hands on my knees like this? He goes, yeah, that'll look good. I'm like, all right. So that was our first shot.
Okay, next shot.
Continue
next photo,
on with the torture.
Here in the photo shoot. I call this picture liar. Because the next time I see you push buttons will be the first time I see you push buttons.
Are you kidding me? Oh my God, I do all the shows here. Not anymore. I'm beginning to release the, I'm going to take that fucking mic away from you. I'm beginning to teach Nick how to be a TD. But I have done a shitload of shows. So I actually, can you bring that graphic back up? I look like I'm like really talented or something. Good.
Almost. Next photo, Nick?
Almost. Okay.
This one I call the faker because
The faker?
that is the worst forced laughter.
Oh no, that's a real laugh.
I think I've seen.
No, that's a real laugh. There was no fake. No, that was real. I laugh. I'm a big laugher. Can you bring that back up again? Sure. I have tons of compliments on that picture. Tons.
I can imagine. No, it's a very good picture.
No, I laugh like that.
That's,
I look like a fat Asian guy because my eyes are all slitty and kind of stuff. But that's a real laugh.
Yeah, I mean, to be a good businessman, you got to be good at math. So
yeah, so you're just being mean spirited now. Let's continue on with the tour of meanness.
So the last photo.
Yeah.
I call this one the endorsement. Because it looks like the next caption is going to be,
I think it's so funny you came up
I'm
with
Scott Whitney for Rogaine with minoxidil.
Rogaine? I'm Scott Whitney for Livestream Las
Or
Vegas.
if this were on the back of like a Men's Health, ask your doctor if Cialis is right for you.
Wait, now somebody said, my nose looked weird. What the? My nose looked weird? I have what's referred to as a regal nose. Camera 2, please. Hello. See this nose? Don't get carried away. Just fucking shoot the shot. That's a regal nose, okay? So whoever said I had, okay, Jimmy 2Gs, I'm going to have to ban you for 15 seconds. A nice jacket in the laughing photo. Thank you, Pops. Okay.
So they came in, they did the photo shoot.
They did the photo shoot, which was super uncomfortable. By the way, the same guy who shot me shot the fight, the Merriweather fight.
The Merriweather?
Yeah, or Mayweather. Yeah, Mary.
Right, yeah.
Right, real quick.
Now like he's from Vegas.
He should have been ashamed of himself, Mayweather. Fucking takes him 10 rounds to figure out how to box a guy who's never boxed professionally. Yeah. You're the best boxer. And he's calling him 50-0 now. That was like when Muhammad Ali fought that big wrestler guy. He didn't add that to his fucking record. Come on, man. Come on. All right.
Well, so the crazy thing was, so I'm reading through this article,
right?
And there's a little Q&A in there that goes back and forth.
Yep.
And the funny thing about that Q&A was, it was pleasant.
Yeah.
Maybe even you could call it positive, friendly.
Maybe you could have called it positive.
Well, but these are all things that in the real world you're not.
Nothing like that.
So I thought to myself, what's going on here? And then the more I thought about it, I realized, okay, the Las Vegas Review-Journal is a mainstream publication,
right?
Wide distribution, very politically correct. Mm-hmm. And so I figured and I thought to myself, you probably had to play within the confines of that world.
A little bit.
So I wanted to go through it a little bit, and separate the what do they call it? The curds from the whey.
Right. The wheat from the chaff.
Exactly. And see, what really was on, what if you could answer those questions in the most Scott Whitney way possible, and not, playing within the Adelson Journal, how you would do that.
Okay, so a couple of things. First of all, we ended up doing 2 interviews together, at least an hour and a half total, maybe even close to 2 hours, because he did another interview right after the photo shoot. And you take all that stuff, and I'm a pretty fast talker, and there's no way for me to know how many words there were, but that article was in total 1,100 words, which isn't a lot of words. So not for me. So they had to edit it down quite a bit. And I thought it'd be kind of cool. Okay, that's fine. You brought this up. Okay, well, let me tell you what really happened. So a little behind the scenes, kind of the deal. So the first question that came up was about podcasting. And the question was...
So they asked, podcasts are making a comeback after being out of style for a while. How have you seen the market change?
What I said, what was recorded, or actually what was said,
what the record states.
What was written was, I said, it's been fascinating to watch. I got into podcasting in 2005, which is basically when it got started. In 2006 and 2007, a lot of people got into it, including businesses, which is when it got interesting. The problem is they don't understand the criteria for success. The reason most business podcasts failed is because they forgot to entertain or educate. So while everybody was doing it, nobody was listening. So everybody stopped. But some of us kept doing it, and people started to see that if you do good podcasts, it actually does good stuff for you, basically is what I wrote. So there wasn't a lot of difference in that. That was a pretty high level. Right. And actually, one of the things that Al asked me to do is not pitch. So I wasn't allowed to pitch Podworks. I wasn't allowed to pitch Livestream Las Vegas. I wasn't allowed to say we do this. I wasn't allowed to go into the real details about podcasting. So that particular interview, or that particular question, there was a bit more back and forth just because he and I tend to sometimes just debate because we are both strong-willed kind of guys. But overall, there was no big difference on that particular one. But the next one, there was a big difference from what I said and what the reality is.
So video podcasts were the trend for a while, but people seem to be going back to audio only. No, that's not really a question. That's a statement.
It was a statement. It was a position.
Your reaction was?
It was a position that he had before we even did the interview. He had mentioned that 3 times in just discussing the interview before we do. So I knew he was going to talk about it. So part of what my response was I don't want, you can't call a guy a liar. And I didn't have the numbers in front of me. So I didn't want to say, well, I don't think that's right. I'm doing a video podcast. I got lots of people watching. So I didn't know. But there is something to be said about audio podcasting. What I said was, I do both, meaning the Vegas Video Network does both. Every show is both an audio and video podcast. The reason audio is more powerful is because it's portable. I can listen to an audio podcast in my car. In fact, more people listen to audio versions of my show than watch my video versions. I was wrong.
Really?
I just discovered that today. I did the numbers today, and I'll explain why. I didn't, and I'll explain why those numbers are wrong. And it's easier to do a decent audio podcast. What I meant by that was it's easy because you don't need the same amount of equipment to do that. You can get a decent audio platform to do podcasting for less than $500-ish.
And you're not going to have a technical director 5 minutes before you go on ask you if bamboo is straight. Because nobody can see the bamboo.
You guys like the bamboo here? It looks pretty good. Over here, good bamboo. The old bamboo. Oh, name this movie. Live chatters, name this movie. The old bamboo, the old bamboo. You're never going to trouble with the old bamboo. But never going to trouble with the old bamboo. Anybody?
God, I hope it's not Mary Poppins.
Oh, but it's very related to that. It was going to be my second movie, which comes up later. We'll keep an eye on the live chat. Okay, so continuing on. It's easier to do a decent audio podcast. Plus, there's a certain closeness associated with someone in your ears talking to you. It's a very personal way to communicate. So that's all true. It is true. So you can listen to your podcast, audio podcast, while you're jogging or working or driving to work, and that's all true. But I was curious as to, Chitty Bang Bang's right, Jimmy 2Gs. Way to go, my brother. I was curious to see what is it for us. And so we do what's called a 3-screen distribution here for Vegas Video Network. And this is another example of he didn't want me to talk about that because it was too pitchy. So what I mean by 3 screens is that we broadcast our content on television, on desktop devices, and mobile devices. So we're all over the place. And so I looked at the numbers of the last 3 shows I did. Okay. So episodes 310, 309, and 308. Episode 308, 35% of our content was consumed in audio, 65% was video.
It's 2 to 1, yeah.
2 to 1. Mm-hmm. And it pretty much worked that way. So in episode 309, 34 audio, 66 video, and 310, 31% audio, 69% video. Now,
I mean, I would argue that people have to watch the video in order to see this face.
Right, and you would have to argue that because no one believes you unless you did argue. The difference is this. So the distribution is what makes that more video-centric. So Roku, of course, is one of our distribution partners, which is part of the podcasting world, but it's pure video. But so is YouTube, and so is live stream. So if I add all those together, which is our distribution, that's how I get those numbers. If you look at just iTunes video to audio, there are more audio downloads of our show in iTunes versus video. But if you add all the content that's being consumed by us, it's actually 2 to 1 basically, which I wasn't sure about when I talked. And the same thing was this: he really wanted to push an audio thing. I didn't want to disagree. And if you looked at just iTunes, he was right. And I think the other thing is he's hearing from people who are like, I'm going to start a podcast. Mm-hmm. Well, everybody who says that still says the same thing. Everybody thinks that's not true. Most people think a podcast is audio only, but it's not. But when you ask somebody what a podcast is, they think, well, it's an audio show. So I think part of it was that, and I was in no position to correct him on that.
So let's get into a little bit more meatier material.
Okay.
How has your experience living in the Las Vegas Valley changed over the past 11 years, and how has this podcast, LiLV, kept up?
So I think that both just reflect the reality that we were in. I think that's now this is parenthetically, I think that's why this show is a good show. Back to what I said. I was a home buyer, and when we first got here, home prices were going up. Our house appreciated $100,000 in 6 months. We've talked about this, by the way, on the show. We bought up in Aliante. We bought a house in the master plan community. The home builder built the exact same houses after we bought ours. 6 months later, our exact house was $100,000 more. Melissa was like, "Holy Christ, we've hit the gold mine." And I told her, this is fake. This is unsustainable. The people who are moving in around us, they shouldn't be here. And I'm not trying to be a dick about it, but you could tell this was all fake money. And guess what? It's fake money. And that's insane. And I knew it was insane, and come to find out, it was insane. So in the beginning, it was a celebration of being in Las Vegas because Vegas was cool. There was some pretty cool stuff going on here. And then it was frightening to be here. And it was frightening. I'm telling you, as a homeowner, it was terrifying to watch what was going around us. Did I say, oh yeah, we were the #1 foreclosed city in the world, and it was scary. And our show reflected that. So we were already pretty open about that. Now, we didn't get foreclosed on, but we were surrounded by people who were. And some of our good friends were too. We weren't trying to hide from the fact that people around us were being foreclosed. Now it's fun again. The housing market has stabilized. And if you're a homeowner, that matters. It matters to me. Business is stabilized, and now it's a bit more tempered. So that really, there wasn't a big difference between that. I think we've become more and more forthcoming in the show as a result of just kind of what happened, and just having done a lot of these. When you do your first I don't know, 100 episodes, you're trying to appease everybody. Then after a while, you recognize, I'm just going to appease the people who want to be appeased by it. And they like it, fuck, that's great. And if they don't, fuck, that's great. I don't care. Either way, I want you to like it. I want the fans to be happy with the show. But I'm just going to tell you the truth. And if the truth is not cool with you, then, so the most responded thing we get are YouTube videos. Mm-hmm. So every YouTube video we put out gets responses. And most of them are positive.
We've all seen the YouTube comments.
Yeah, but I've gotten some pretty harsh responses. And here's the truth of the matter is, if it's debatable, if they're not being a dick,
which right there eliminates
half,
85% of the comments.
If they're not being a dick, then I will engage them in a debate. If they're being a dick, sometimes I get this one a lot, all the time. These guys blathered on for 10 minutes until they got to the content. And I'm like, what, you can't fast forward? And they'll go, these guys suck. I get a lot of that. And so I will write this all the time. So you're on the fence? So I chap the bear a little bit. But if they're dicks, I just delete them. Because there's nothing that says I have to have everything that's said on my Facebook or on my YouTube channel on there. There's no fucking rule. If you're a dick, I'm taking you off.
Well, speaking of those types of people, so what do your viewers and listeners complain about the most?
Which is the next question. And I wrote, or I said, the writing was one of the most expletive. I said one of the most bitched about. So bitched was taken out. Yeah. Because I read that when it was put out there. I'm like, now what would I have said there? I'm a cusser.
You are.
So I could have said fuck, shit, but one of the most fucked about? Nope, that doesn't make any sense. One of the most shit upon? Nope, I would never say that. That was one of the most bitched about things. And that got taken out. Well, okay. One of the most bitched about things in my show is paid parking when it happened. Now, I will do a parenthetical here. So I told him, listen, I don't want to go on and on and on about this paid parking thing. Everybody knows it. I think it's a reflection of people who've lost their cool. I actually think it's a reflection of the casinos recognizing and admitting that their product has failed. Because that's what it is. That's what it is. What does a casino... And I went into this, and he cut all this shit out. And I asked him, hey, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this paid parking shit, but I want to tell you what I really think about this, because I think it's important. Here's the deal. What do casinos sell?
Fun.
And then if you categorize them, they sell gaming, food, drinking, and entertainment, right? Those are the four things that they sell. And if you got more, tell me. But basically, that's it. It's fun. It's escapism. It's all those things, right? So forever, those four things were enough. They were profitable enough to be like, we're good. And then something triggered them to said, the things that we offered are not selling well enough. Our offer's not good enough. So now we're going to force them to pay us even though they don't like our offer. That's what paid parking is. And that's what's happening. So they lost their cool. Their product isn't as good as it used to be. That is a fact. Otherwise, they wouldn't have to do it.
But
there's no other reason to do it but greed. It's fucking greed.
I agree with you.
You know how much profit they made at MGM Grand last year on that one property? $356 million on that one property. The worst property they have is Caesar, Circus. You know how much money they made on that? $56 million. And they're going to probably dump that fucking property because it's not profitable much. $56 million. They're not making $56 million in parking, but they felt they needed it. Why?
Because they're greedy.
They're fucking greedy. Mm-hmm. And the product wasn't selling enough, so they felt they had to cover it for some reason. For who? I don't know, the board, the shareholders, I don't care. But that's what it. But I asked them, don't put all that in there because, who knows, one day maybe MGM will bring us on as a fucking, or they'll sponsor us. Not likely.
So not to dwell on that.
So I also talked a little bit about pricing on the strip. Mm-hmm. A lot of people bitch about that. And I actually spoke a little bit about the $18 drink, which is what it costs on the strip. And my position, I won't read the whole thing, but basically was, you know what? An $18 drink isn't bad if you have one drink. Mm-hmm. Because if you go to, I think it was the Delano or whatever, the Dorsey at the Venetian, it's a beautiful bar. They make fantastic drinks. One drink for $18, I'm in. Now, if you're going to be sitting around all night and knocking back $18 drinks, you know what? Fucking bring the truck behind you or have an ATM and go. Mm-hmm. But that was the biggest complaint that we got from our listeners was it's the parking. That's the number one complaint we got.
So this one is the one I probably found the most interesting and was actually one of the shortest.
Yeah.
When you get beyond the international stars, the household names like the Celines and the Elton Johns, do tourists know who most of the Vegas-centric Strip headliners are?
Yeah, so I actually kind of got aggressive on the answer, and he calmed it down a little bit, and I wrote no. He's like, do they know? I said no. People don't know what's happening here, and that's a problem. Vegas is believing its own press. Everybody in Las Vegas thinks everybody knows everything about Las Vegas, and it's just not true. There's too much to know. And the reason why these local acts who are big fail is because there's not enough time to get traction. So in my head, I'm thinking, for example, Clint Holmes. Now, I didn't want to do a bunch of name dropping in here, but like Clint Holmes. You know who Clint Holmes is. I know who Clint Holmes is. I would say, most of the people who watch or listen to our show for any amount of time does, but most people don't. Now, he had a great quote, and he's fantastic. Now, he's 70 years old, or 71, although you would never know it.
No.
But he used to have his own...
Kudos to his doctor.
Yeah, right, or genes or whatever. He used to have his own theater at Harrah's for 4.5 years or so, the Clint Holmes Theater. And when he started, he was scared to death because no one showed up. Because no one knew who the hell he was. Mm-hmm. And so he thought, the hook's coming. And the Harrah's people said, relax. It's our job to get people to know you, which means it takes a cycle to get people to go, that guy's cool, I'll tell people, and then I'll come back. So the perfect example, I could do Clint Holmes. You ever heard of Circus 1903?
Yeah, I read an article, a review actually, in the Review Journal.
Yeah. Is anybody who's hearing this right now outside of Vegas there's no possible way. It's gotten great reviews. No one's heard of it. Anthony Cools, Mark Savard, Bronx Wanderers. All those guys are headliners in Las Vegas. Most of the people who are watching or listening to us now have no idea who I'm talking about. But those guys are all crushing it in this business. Crushing it. But you don't know.
When you say that, so what do you mean that they're crushing it financially?
That is the only measurement for somebody who's trying to make a living, right? Because I've talked about this before. Most entertainers in Las Vegas are fake wealthy.
Oh, sure.
Meaning they look like they're doing very well for themselves. Actually, an entertainer here started writing a blog and mentioned this, which is the first time I've ever heard an entertainer admit to this. So they drive nice-looking cars. They're all on the red carpet. They're getting comped to this, front seats for that. It all looks very nice, shiny, pretty, glowy stuff. And most of them don't have a pot to piss in.
Right. Most of them can't even afford a Vegas Video Co-op membership.
And they can't, and that's exactly right, which is $229 a month. If you can't handle $229 a month, you got bigger problems, bigger fish to fry than whether or not you're headlining on the Strip. And as a matter of fact, when I started the co-op, I know a number of entertainers in Las Vegas through the network. You know how many I reached out to? None. Why? Because I knew none of them could afford it. So you look at these people, and it's all kind of fake. But the math is frightening if you're trying to start a show. So the average amount of time somebody spends here is 3.5 days. That's the average amount of time. So that means that your advertising has to cycle every 3.5 days. So what does that cost? Well, I remember we once had the amazing Jonathan on one of our shows, and he was four-walling, which means he was paying for his own room at, what was that, the place on Colville, the gay bar / whatever it was.
Yeah.
He was doing billboards that were $10,000 a month, just one billboard. I've heard many producers say if you're not willing to spend $20,000 or $30,000 a month on advertising, you will starve to death. Okay, well, that's a lot of money. And that means you have a big nut. So you've got this huge nut, but you still have to maintain. The perfect example of this is Frankie Moreno. So he was over at the Planet Hollywood. He was over at Stratosphere for a while, did a very good job there. He moved on for a variety of reasons, none of which I will share. He was over at the Planet Hollywood. He had a much bigger show. It wasn't actually his best foot forward from a performance standpoint in that he was dancing. He's not a dancer. It was a beautiful show, though. But he was on. He knew his show was canceled well before it was canceled. And I think overall they gave him 6 weeks. 6 weeks. You can't do anything here in 6 weeks. It's just not possible. So they didn't give the guy runway. And that's the biggest problem is producers aren't thinking, I have to set aside $250,000, I don't know what the number is, to get this fucking thing off the ground. Otherwise, no one's going to know. And it's happening now. So there are people who are playing at the Golden Nugget who they both should be there forever, and they did their 6 months, and they're out. They wouldn't be out if they were killing it. It's just not true. So something isn't working, and that's the big challenge.
You know what I found was fascinating, speaking of advertising and marketing of shows, especially on this trip? You and I had the opportunity to see the Tenors of Rock about 2 weeks-ish ago.
Yes, we did.
And then we actually hung out afterwards and talked to the person,
the founder
that kind of puts that together.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know if you remember this, but one of the most fascinating things he said was that their worst night, they work 6 nights a week.
Yep.
They only get one night off. They're
Yep.
dark on Tuesdays.
All right.
But I found it fascinating. Their worst night is Friday.
Oh, I don't disagree. Yeah.
And do you
Who would've
remember why
thought?
he said that? I never would have thought that. He said Friday is their worst night because you go downstairs and everybody's checking in.
Yeah.
So once they get through the check-in line, they've just gotten out of the car, off the plane, and they want to hit Vegas.
Yeah, yeah.
They want to drink. They want to go hit the tables or
Yeah.
go walk the strip.
Yeah.
And so their worst night is
Yeah.
Friday.
Yeah. And I was surprised, but it made sense.
It does. When he explained it, it absolutely made sense.
Yeah.
But who would have thought that a Friday is a worse night to have a show than a Monday?
Yeah. And no, you're exactly right. And as a matter of fact, I've heard other people say our best nights are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm like, well, those are shit nights. Conventions. Mm-hmm. Ah, fuck, that's right.
And speaking of marketing, that's a show they do a terrible job marketing.
Well, that's actually we're not reviewing that show, but I will say this, and you and I had somewhat differing opinions on the show in general, but I will say this. So this is a show. What's it called? Tenors of Rock. Talented people, without question, talented people. The drummer is the ex-original drummer from Slaughter. Guy's a fucking monster. The guitar player, who's a well-known guitar player around here, Chris, monster. Mm-hmm. We walked into Harrah's.
Yes.
Harrah's. They've been there since January.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It was August. Mm-hmm. We walked in, and how many billboards did we see for them?
Zero.
None. How many anything did we see for them?
Nothing.
I didn't see shit for them.
I saw Menopause.
Yep.
I saw
Ralphie May.
Richard Marx. They had table brochures.
Table things for all over Richard Marx.
Which wasn't even happening at Harrah's.
No!
That was happening 2
And
casinos
I didn't
down
even
at the
notice that
Flamingo.
until I was talking to somebody else. I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't even the same fucking property. What is going on? And these guys, and it's a production show.
Yes.
There's big boy lights,
Yep.
big boy smoke, big boy music. It's going on. It's going on. And you wouldn't even know that show is there.
No, you wouldn't.
Crazy, in my opinion. And they've already had to cut a little bit back. They had dancers who, by the way, it's a damn shame we didn't see it then, because one of the things I talk about in this article is my favorite band, and it's this band called Gina and the Eastern Bloc, who opened for Steel Panther. And, you can see it up in the upper right corner. You'll see a picture of her. She is not to be toyed with. And she also runs this dance crew, and they were the dancers for this show, and they were one of the first people to go. Did they lose a keyboard player? I thought they lost somebody else as well. Anyways, that's the death knell of a show, although I'm not saying that's the death knell of that show.
No.
Is when you start, we're going to get rid of if they start doing tracks, then you're fucked.
So, speaking of things that are hidden, besides Tenors of Rock, next question is, what are the hidden gems that you like to tell people about?
So I wrote, well, Absence is not a hidden gem, but I think most people outside of Vegas doesn't really know about that show. Now, listen, if you're paying attention, you do know about that show.
Oh, yeah.
But they are just obliterated by the kind of advertising that the Cirques do. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to hear about Absence unless you pay attention. And by the way, Absinthe. There's a Facebook group that I'm in called Talk Las Vegas, and you'd be shocked how much people don't know about this town. I mean, questions like, I'm going to Vegas, what shows should I see? Which you could get 1,000 responses to.
Sure.
I don't know. Do you like naked people? Do you like? So I said absence, but what I said, basically, I spoke about a thing called the Composers Showcase, which I think I've talked about on this show before. This is
You're
really
a big Smithsonian guy.
Yeah, this is an inside baseball thing. I didn't go into the details of this in this interview, but I said, look, if you're coming to Vegas once every 5 years, you're not going to Composer Showcase. You don't give a shit about this. But if you're a person who comes to Vegas once a year or twice a year, like many of our viewers do, then if you're here during Composer Showcase, go. Because what you'll end up seeing is the guys who are starring on the Strip doing their own shows, or doing their own stuff. So I said something like, so it could be Travis Clower from Jersey Boys writing a country song, which is cool. The other thing I mentioned is Tuscany. Now, I'm not a big fan of Tuscany. It's, first of all, it's on the east side. It's on the east side, so it's hard to get there.
Yes, yeah.
But here's what's great about Tuscany.
Take roads with traffic lights.
We had some friends from England there, and they went and saw a Rat Pack show there. And I thought to myself, we'll see how that goes for them. And you know what the response was?
They liked it.
Best show they've ever seen. It was fantastic. It was great.
I love the guy, David DaCosta, that is the Frank Sinatra in that show.
Oh, is that right?
He's fantastic.
Okay, so what I said about them is they have embraced live music. Now, we've talked many, many times about how all the musicians here bitch about DJs and tracks, and I've always said the same thing. Look, if you were making more money than the DJs, if you could figure out how people could go to your show and buy $800 bottles of vodka, fuck, they'd hire you. You can't figure it out, you don't get the bitch. Tuscany said, now, by the way, if you don't know where Tuscany is, it's on Flamingo?
Yeah.
It's about...
Flamingo and let's call it...
Koval?
No.
Would you say a quarter
Swenson,
mile?
Maryland Parkway?
It's not that far away. It's before Paradise.
Yeah.
So it's
okay, yeah.
Call it a half a mile to a quarter mile away from the Strip.
Yep.
It's a smaller casino, but you know what's good about that casino?
Take an Uber. Don't walk it.
Yeah, it's full. I mean, it's actually got a nice little brewery or a micro pubby kind of thing there.
We went there years ago.
Yeah. And you know what? They've completely embraced live music. So I am always supportive of places that support live music. It's hard to find. Like there's a place called Bailiwick over at the Orleans right now, that has live music Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and oftentimes 2 acts every night. That's embracing live music. So that's one of our new kind of cool places to hang out. They got good food, good drink specials, and they got live music. Tuscany, I think every night they're doing live music in their main lounge. I think in that other place where the Rat Pack is too. So I said that's a pretty cool play. Other hidden gems. I think for a local, if you're not a member of House Seats, you're an idiot. And basically, I mean, this is the free seats thing. House Seats is the best, in my opinion. Now, clearly, I have an opinion of that because they're on our network. But I thought that before I knew Bryce. But the idea of being able to go to shows for free is magical. If you have so we have the 4-seat deal. Are you on it? You're on it.
I am.
And the 4-seat deal?
They call it the Full House.
Yeah, Full House. I got a Full House. So, which is a 5-card thing. So I'm going to have to talk to him a little bit about descriptions. But look, I got 4 seats. You come visit Arches of Whitney Villa, and you're hanging out, and they're like, let's go to a show. I can take you to LA Comedy Club, which is one of my favorite comedy club places, one of my hidden secrets. They've moved around so many times, it's hard to find them anymore. But guess what? I'll bring you there. I look like I know what's going on. I'm an insider because I get the tickets for free, and I paid $89 a year for that.
I saw a very famous orange-haired comic about 3 weeks ago.
I've seen him 3 or 4 times, as has Nick. Nick brought a date there. How'd that date go, Nick? Now's the time to get on the mic, big boy.
Yeah, it was a date.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Is that mic on?
It was a date.
It was a good date?
Yeah,
did you get lucky? All right, good talk.
And now.
So, yeah, that's all the time we have for Nick.
For Nick.
So
to wrap this up.
Music, you're talking about music. So then he asked you just some quick hits. You love yourself some Gina.
And the Eastern Bloc.
Right.
Look them up. They've only got 5 songs on Spotify. What I write. It's like a combination of Marilyn Manson, little 9 Inch Nails, little Nicki Minaj, little syncopated rock. I'm telling you, just go check her out.
You continue to embarrass your friends and family by calling Mary Poppins your favorite movie ever.
No, I didn't embarrass them. I explained to them what life is. If you want to know what life is in goodness, Mary Poppins. And then number 2, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, in case you guys want to go for a double. Most notable achievement, I sold a shitload of CDs.
Yep. And then the food that you couldn't live without.
Clausen pickles. And I had a gathering this weekend with just a couple friends, and one of my good friends who actually read the article brought me 2 giant jars of Clausen
See,
pickles.
when I see you, I don't think that guy likes pickles.
Well, you wouldn't be the first person who used that joke, or you don't seem like a pickle guy. Mm-hmm. Okay. But Clausen pickles are magic. You know why? They're always refrigerated. They're never warm. And that's how you want your pickle. Actually, you want it just the opposite, but it's a great pickle. Okay, so that's it, right? That was the end of it. Anyways,
is there a question you wish he would have asked you?
I wish he'd asked me more business questions. I mean, clearly. I mean, I would like to be able to speak more about why most people here are starving to death. I would like to have talked more about how to position yourself. I think that's the great challenge that businesses in general, but for some reason I think it's a big problem for Las Vegas, is how to position yourself to actually make money so you can afford the Vegas Video Co-op, for example. I mean, I know it sounds silly, but there's a lot of people who are really struggling with storytelling. But that's not what this was. This was all about, this is kind of a flashy kind of thing. I think he did it. First of all, I want to thank Al. Thanks, Al, for doing that. I think it was a lot of fun. It was great catching up with you again. And I was honored for him to reach out to me and play along. All right, we only got about 10 minutes. Let's do Have a Drink on Me.
Have a drink on me. Have a drink on me. Come on.
Now it's time for Have a Drink on Me. Where are you going, Nick? You know where you should go? No. Go get... Okay, that's good. That's fine. Yeah. Now it's time for Have a Drink on Me. It's part of the show where we show you a picture of a bar. I was going to have you get another one of those velvet things. Oh, there's Nick, by the way. That's the last time you're going to see Nick. So say bye.
It was a good run.
It's a good run.
If by good, I mean terrible, then it was a good run.
It was good in the part where we're never going to see him again. No, I'm kidding. Actually, so far, I think the show's gone flawlessly.
Sure.
Little delay on the initial graphics that we wanted to see for the picture.
I don't judge Nick. I just love him as he is.
I got so involved with who he was trying to talk about and listening to what that was. It didn't dawn on me he was talking about you.
Okay, go ahead and shut that mic off, Dick. There you go. Anyways, everybody say goodbye in the live chat to Nick, because we're not going to see him again. So let's Have a Drink on Me. It's part of the show where I show you a picture of a bar or a speakeasy or a pub but not a lounge, a lounge, yes, club, no.
Right, no.
And so we show you this picture, and then you guys guess what those things are.
Do you have an example? Do we have a picture from last week?
We do, but let's not show that quite yet. Hold on. You want to show? Or yeah, show it from. Yeah. So I might show you a picture like that. Mm-hmm. And
then what kind of clues would you give?
Oh, for that one, I would have said that was last week's. Let's go ahead and bring that one back up again. Last week's clues were Voodoo Lounge, Voodoo Lounge, Voodoo Lounge. They're really tough clues.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Incredibly difficult. Now you
IBM
have
Watson is still working on them.
Yeah, well,
and you just gave it away. It still doesn't know.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Now, there are multiple ways to win. Do you want to tell them, or would you like me to tell them?
Oh, my gosh. It's almost would be like...
There's 5 ways.
It'd be easier to tell them the ways not to win. But let's start off...
Kill a baby puppy?
Let's start off, bro. That's like the
As
only
opposed
one.
to an adult puppy.
Well, yeah. You could be the first correct answer.
Right.
That would get you an entry.
That's right.
We're talking bonus entries.
That's right.
I mean, obviously, to win, you have to send in the correct answer.
You have to email a correct answer to haveadrink@vegasvideonetwork.com. Again, haveadrink@vegasvideonetwork.com.
Now, if that's not good enough for you.
No, there's more. Nicely done.
Yep.
Look at that. God damn it. I'm very proud of you right now, Nick. Very proud of you. Yeah, so you send an email to haveadrink@vegasvideonet. That's your first entry. Your second entry is
to be the very first one.
The very first correct answer. That's your second way.
Yep. You could be you could send us your response via video.
Boom. Third way. Nicely done.
Yep. You could also You could.
It's harder than it looks, huh? You could provide us an entry, a video introduction. Hey, this is Dave
Well,
Smith,
that's-
and you're
yeah.
nobody does that anymore, but that would get you another one. Or you could be in the live chat,
Right.
While your question is being or your response is in. That's 5 ways to win. There are many people who have had multiple entries in here. Why? Because they took advantage of our kindness. Now, you may ask yourself, well, Scott, this is all fine and well, but what can I win if I do that? Let's go with this one. No, actually, I don't know if I have the right music for this. Let's do this one. Yeah.
Start with this one. Are you looking for a holiday tradition for years to come?
Well, that's not this.
A tradition that is certain to
You're
make
reading
the
the wrong
holiday
one.
season
You give me this.
a warm
You gave me good
and
jazz.
enjoyable. I understand. Just roll with it. Holiday tradition certain to make the holiday season a warm and enjoyable time for you and your family. Or maybe you're just looking to increase your productivity with some smooth background music. Whatever your pleasure might be, the Crisp Acoustic 2, or like a Jazzathon CDs are for you. Remember, tradition for years to come. Is your family looking for a tradition for months to come? Enjoy the shadiness and warmth
The fuck?
of a Vegas Video Network visor. It will allow your hair to still breathe while keeping the harsh sun off your face.
You suck at this more
Yeah,
and more
I
every time.
was-
You've done this better.
I have. Finally,
Arr.
if you're a bit of an alcoholic, then you and Scott will fit in just fine as he buys you a drink here in Las Vegas.
Okay, thank you
A
so
tradition
much.
for seconds to come.
Okay.
Minutes.
Something else magical happens. Are you ready?
More magical
Something
than a
magical
holiday tradition.
happens if you get one of these here visors and take a picture of it. Are you ready?
I'm not.
Well, okay. Now I'm not going to even warn you. I'm just going to go. We'll see what you made of. Here's what happens. You win one of these guys here, and you're like, wow, I feel kind of powerful, kind of special, kind of magical. You know, I'm going to send a picture back into Scott. And then I'm going to take that picture. I'm going to look at it and go, well, that's a very handsome young man or handsome woman. And then I'm going to send it over to our system. And our system goes, well, that person should be a part of the galaxy of gods. There's Robert, and then there's Christina, and then Danny, and Don, and Jackie, and Ken, who's in Hawaii, and Michael, and Sammy, and Mike, boom, Pops, and Rosie, and then there's Glenn, and Alan, and Aaron, who are nudists, and Scott, and I do hear a slight echo again. There's Binky, and Bud, and Shet. Don't worry about the echo, keep on going. And then there's anytime you want to go to the end, I'm ready. And a dog, and Jimmy, and Chris, who's in my backyard, still kind of drunk, and your buddy Scott, and you, and that was weird, and Brett's dead. And then there's somebody, and there's that worked out. Didn't go. You got to hit C on him. Go back to him. C. Hover C. Hover C on him.
You jinxed this. You called the success way too early.
This is too bad.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Oh, that's me.
Hey, Sammy, everybody.
Okay. Part of that was me.
You might remember
Wait,
Sammy
is the music
from
on that?
4 episodes ago. Hey, look, it's us.
Hey, can you do one thing? Hover over the first person again and just hit, it's C, right? Yeah. Hover over it and go. Oh, you don't even need my music. Yeah, now go over to Brett. Yeah, that's right. What happened? Well, that was me. I fucked that up. I think I fucked it up. Because I actually started playing the music.
Loop sound effect?
I started playing the music. That's why we had the echo.
Okay. Scott Whitney, everybody.
Okay, here we go. Woo! Nicely done.
How many correct answers do we have?
13 out of 13. This was a harder one. And I didn't think it was that hard, given the clues. Again, let's look at the picture from last week. And the clues were Voodoo Lounge at the Rio, Voodoo Lounge at the Rio. And only 13 people could actually write down Voodoo Lounge. I think those were
Voted
pretty...
the best view in Las Vegas by our chatters.
Oh, yeah, a lot of really good views there. And Pops recognized the CD that I showed that had Brett's autograph. Pops actually, let me show you real fast. Pops won this CD. And both Brett and I signed it. And then when Brett passed away, Pops said, well, you should have this. And he sent it back. That was kind of nice of him, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I thought so.
Okay.
All right. So 13 out of 13. Here we go. Are you ready?
I've been ready.
Can you hold that open now? Well, how are we going to do this? This is, we need...
Just put them on the table and we'll dump them all in.
Nah, that's a better idea. Fuck yeah. Let's just do that. All right, number one. Number one, Monica Fagan, also known as Binky. One for the correct answer. Next up, we've got Greg Tapscott. One for the correct answer. Then we've got Bill 98036. One for the correct answer. Then we've got AJ Hala, who says, great show. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Holla.
Then we've got Gary Romberg, also known as Mr. Testy. Well done.
Let me know when you're done.
Andy in New Hampshire. We've got Paul, who's known as Condor 954. Paul
I got it right one now?
We got Paul.
Oh, okay.
954. Paul.
Wasn't sure there.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you. I feel you. In the live chat, Ted says, I want to be old Chris Phillips when I grow up.
I don't know about that. Old Chris Phillips is chasing around a toddler about now.
Right. He's 68 years old, graduating from high school.
Oh, wow.
That seems hard.
That
seems hard to me. We've got Justin Harrell from Alaska. We've got Mad Chipmunk, who's in the live chat. Mad Chipmunk, please. Yeah, I can't imagine that. I was one of the younger
I'm 35, and my son
10.
is 10, and I'm
gonna be 40. What? 2, 3, 3, 43.
8. Yeah, 43.
Yeah, it's not terrible.
And I'm just like, I'm too old for this.
Yeah, that's some shit right there. Jeff, who goes by Tiller 121, who actually wrote something.
Oh, let's not kid ourselves. That's not last name.
Which part? Hold on. Jeff.
Sorry.
What happened here?
Tell them like it
Hey,
is.
here's what Jeff wrote. How are we doing on time? What's the timer say on our clock?
Jess said, hey, Wayne, you're fucking awesome. I'm sorry. Misread that. Hello from the East Coast of Canada. Long-time LiLV YouTube watcher, but first-time entering Haddam.
Boom.
Love the show. I believe this week's bar is the Voodoo Lounge at Rio. Hope to catch you in chat during the next live stream. Regards, Jeff.
Way to go. And then we've got Mike Beatty. Mike writes, hey, Scott and Wayne, this Haddam this week was a Voodoo Rooftop Lounge. Scott, I wanted to thank you again for the drinks and the great conversation next time I'm in Vegas. And if I don't win, by then I would like to buy you one. Actually, I think you tried to buy me one before. No, that was try to buy me a hooker. I'm sorry, I misspoke.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And then we've got Gene Rasmussen. Let's see, Gene's got, quickly, real fast.
Gene says, hi, Scott and Pimp and Wayne.
Get ready for
this
Pops.
week's answer to have a drink on me is the Voodoo Lounge at Rio. I truly love the show and appreciate all the hard work you put in to help all of us Vegas nerds with our Vegas fix.
You're welcome.
I had to cancel the Labor Day trip due to rotator cuff surgery.
What?
But hope to sneak in a trip in late September during my recovery on the QT, of course, from Gene.
A correction from the live chat. What Ted meant he wanted to be the old Chris Phillips. Not old Chris Phillips, but the previous Chris Phillips. Camera 4, you can see. A correction was made by
that is an important
Ted.
correction.
There is. I misread. I thought, well, why would you want to be old Chris Phillips?
Right.
No, the old Chris Phillips.
Correct.
Who is in a contest between Nick and Al Mancini for how many rings you can wear at the same time. And then finally, we've got Pop's video entry.
11 is actually the leader in the clubhouse, which is funny because there's only 10 digits.
Nose ring.
So.
Let's see Pop's video.
That's gonna leave a mark. Hey kids, it's 1 a.m., so it's not likely I'm gonna go bash and hit anything and make any noise because somebody will call the cops. Let's talk about this week's correct Haddam answer. It's the Voodoo Rooftop Nightclub and Lounge on top of the fabulous Rio Hotel and Casino. Slightly off the strip, but with a real good view of the city. It's way up on the top floor, like 51 stories up or something like that. A real nice place, kind of high end, a little bit out of my league. Got a dress code and stuff, but I love the Rio. I've always had fun in the casino there. So if you're on the way to the Voodoo Rooftop Lounge or on the way back from the Voodoo Rooftop Lounge, stroll through the slots area and look, see if old Pops is hanging out playing. See ya.
By the way, congratulations to Pops. Pops, I don't know how old he is. Let's call him late 30s. He just auditioned.
He's younger than old Chris Phillips.
He will eventually. He auditioned for a rock band in Florida, and Pops, with his badass drum set right there, got the gig. So congratulations to Pops. All right, let's go ahead and put this shit in the old bag of whiskey. Pops got 3 entries, 1 for the correct answer, 1 for being in the live chat, and 1 for the video entry. Go, baby, go.
All right.
This is exciting.
This drawing.
Here it is.
We got Ernst & Young right there certifying this.
Right.
And Ernst & Young will certify that the winner comes from a bonus entry.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love
Proving
that.
I mean, listen, you do
In
the
the live
extra
chat?
work, and it pays off.
Let's
Yes,
hear it.
in the live chat.
Okay, let's hear it.
Ready?
Yep.
1, 2, 3.
Paul 954. Congratulations, Paul. Or I think it's Condor or whatever, whoever it is. Yeah, Condor 954. He wins. That's fantastic, Condor. You're going to get yourself a visor or a drink on me or some CDs. Okay, let's look at this week's Have a Drink on Me. We're running a little late. Okay, here we are, our 3 clues. Clue number 1, it calls itself a next generation gastropub. It calls itself a next generation gastropub. Hit number 2, according to Wikipedia, it's named partially after someone who is devoid of most moral or sexual restraints, which are seen as unnecessary or undesirable. What? Again, according to Wikipedia.
Did you look up the Wikipedia page with Scott Whitney?
That's fantastic. It should be, because I'm fantastic. According to Wikipedia, it's partially named after somebody who is devoid of most moral or sexual restraints, which are seen as unnecessary or undesirable. And number 3, although social is in the title, it's a good thing it's not called Social House, which of course is closed. If you know the answer, you're going to go ahead and send it to Have a Drink at VegasVideoNetwork.com. And that's it, everybody. Thank you so much for playing along. Went a little bit long, but I hear that all the time.
Really?
I don't know what that graphic was for, but that was a little hard. Okay. I was like, what? Oh, yeah, that was good. Okay, find out. Hey, there's a couple ways to reach out to us. You could send us an email at honorq@livinginlv.com. You can say it right down there, honorq@livinginlv.com. You can leave us a voicemail. You go to our website over at the Vegas Video Network. There's a little tab on the right side. I'm going to get you these graphics next time. You click it. Yeah, and thing pops up and you leave a voicemail. What are you shaking your head for? Am I missing something? Okay. Social media, we're on every social media that you care about. Social media, by the way, will eventually be turned down by the Trump administration. We're also high on iTunes. You know, give us a 5-star, say nice things about it. We're on YouTube. Quit saying that you don't like Wayne. It's not nice, and I'm just going to delete you if you say it anyways. Thumbs up. Share us with your friends. We're on Roku, over 73,000 accounts. We're on Stitcher, TuneIn, Chromecast, Apple, Google, Fire TV, Google Play, and of course, the Vegas Video Network. I'm Scott. That's Wayne. Thanks everybody for playing along. We'll see you guys next time on Living in Las Vegas. Take care, everybody.
Take it.